Let's speak now to Chris Oxtoby, a research consultant with Freedom Under Law. A very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. It has taken a while to actually get to these interviews. I don't know, I mean, it's nearly, 300 days. I don't know whether it's a question of the mills of justice grinding very slowly, the way they do, I guess, everywhere else.
Yeah, they did grind very slowly indeed. I mean, it was a matter of a lot of concern for people who watched the appointments process that we went so long without having a Deputy Chief Justice. It's a very important position. I think it's easy to sort of hear the word deputy and think that it's a powerless position, which is almost ceremonial to the Chief Justice, but that's not the case at all. It's a really important role. The deputy will take on many important responsibilities that might be delegated by the Chief Justice or fill in for the Chief Justice, and will assist in carrying out these tasks. So it was a matter of a lot of concern that it took us so long to get here. And this, of course, is in a context where the Constitutional Court has had a problem filling vacancies for regular judges on the court. So it's a big relief that we are now getting that much closer to having someone appointed to the position.
I mean, breaking with tradition, President Ramaphosa nominated not one, but three judges.
Yes, it was a slightly surprising development. People might remember in 2022 when the previous Chief Justice Zondo was appointed. The president in that case put 4 candidates forward, and the JSC interviews were a very problematic process in that case, with lots of inappropriate questions being asked, lots of ambushing of candidates. It was held up as one of the examples of the JSC really not functioning properly and not doing its job as it should. And then for the 2 big leadership vacancies after that, particularly involving Justice Mandisa Maya being appointed as the Deputy Chief Justice, and then the new Chief Justice. It was just her as the only candidate that was put forward. And I think we all imagined that the 2022 experience of the 4 candidates was something the president was not going to go back to. Obviously, that's now not the case. I quite like the idea of assessing multiple candidates to give the president a broader pool from which to make his decision. Of course, what everyone hopes is that the JSC does not repeat the kind of mistakes that we saw in 2022, and so far the signs have been good on that front.
Now, we were talking just as colleagues this morning. I know a lot of people feel that probably Judge Mlambo will get the nod, but of course I'm reminded of the situation where everyone thought the former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke had it, and surprise, Mogoeng got it.
Yes, I mean, predicting things involving the JSC is always a bit of a difficult task. And in this case, we also have to bear in mind that the ultimate decision is that of the president. So if we're talking in terms of who's favorites or who's most likely, we're really having to read the president's mind, because these interviews are the technical term for them under the Constitution is that it's a consultation with the Judicial Service Commission. So whereas for other vacancies, such as High Court positions, the JSC is effectively making the appointment, here the president has far more discretion, and the JSC's views and the learnings that come out of these interviews really just go to help inform the president in making that decision. So it's a tricky task to predict. All 3 of the candidates are judge presidents, leaders of provincial high courts, and are all highly regarded in their own right. I think Judge President Mlambo certainly has advantages on his side in that he is the head of the busiest high court in the country in Gauteng. He's also previously headed the Labour Court, so he has considerable experience. But the others have also got experience. I think it's a good selection of candidates, and we'll just have to see which way the president will eventually go.
Of course, I mean, it's not just an administrative appointment, as many experts have pointed out, that it will also help shape the judiciary's leadership for the next decade. But of course, if one looks at or takes the case of Judge Mlambo as an example, he's a lot closer to retirement. Would that be a factor, or should it be a factor?
It might be a factor. I think the time range, and this is affected by the age at which judges are obliged under the law to retire. They can't stay on beyond a prescribed point. And I think Judge President Mlambo would be the first to have to retire under that scheme. Then Judge President Tlaletsi would go a year after that, and I think Judge President Musi would have another 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. I think, yes, it may be a factor that's taken into account, but I think one also has to be a bit careful about being too caught up in the numbers. If you have a really outstanding candidate that is going to do a lot in the position, then I think there's a strong argument to say you want them in the position doing a good job for even a shorter period of time, because you're still going to get tremendous benefit from their leadership and their experience. So I think it'll be taken into account, but I wouldn't expect it to be a decisive consideration when it comes to the final appointment.
Just to underscore a point you made yourself, the interviews are indeed an important step, but ultimately the decision is or will be the president's alone.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And this was another issue that caused some confusion in the 2022 Chief Justice interviews, where the JSC purported to indicate a favored candidate, but the constitutional scheme doesn't recognize that, and it purely gives the JSC a consultative role. So the president really, as far as the leadership positions in the judiciary, so the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the President and Deputy President of the Supreme Court of Appeal, as far as those positions are concerned, the President has the highest level of discretion of any judicial appointments. And this we can see also by the fact that it was the President who nominated these 3 candidates for consideration. For other vacancies lower down the food chain, those nominations would have been made by, lawyers, organizations, civil society, etc. But here it's really very largely the president's decision, just subject to taking into account views of the JSC and of political parties who he's required to consult under the Constitution.
Indeed, the president will have to consult the leaders of political parties, but also Chief Justice Maya herself. Coming up, Tomisang Glovu will have the latest in business.